Shalom team, Most High in Christ bless. Back at it. Okay, so now like I said, when you start any edit, you want to use my template. Now I'm gonna show you why again. I've already did that in a previous tutorial, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you one more time. So give me a second. Okay, so this is where all the magic happens, all the editing happens. This is your timeline, this is your preview screen. It allows you to see your process. And this is your media, this is your fonts, your text, this is your audios, this is your transitions, and this is your graphics. I don't really use this too much, but you can. There's themes as well, but you don't really need that. But again, you can if you want to, but you don't really need it though. That's more for like more advanced stuff. Right now, I'm just going to show you the basics of editing. And then when you're done with a video, you want to go to finish video. Okay? So, as you can see on the side, these little things right here, they're called tracks. These are called tracks. You can click delete track if you don't want a track no more, or you can click this plus button to add a track. This little magnet right here, I don't really use, so you don't have to really worry about this one. Alright, so there's I already made the tracks in this template, and I've already put the intro. So really it's for your benefit to use my template because it's already set up for you. All you have to do now is worry about the putting the footage, editing the footage, and putting the outro. Okay? Alright, so first thing I always like to do is pick my footage I would like to work on. Okay, so all praise the Most High. I got some new footage to work on this week from Officer Zuriel. So y'all can also use the footage as well that I will be editing. I will be designating footages to each person, those who want to edit. That would be my question I will post in Telegram as well, as if you want to edit or not. If so, then I will actually designate a footage for you to edit. Okay? Alright, a footage should be no longer than 40 minutes or 45 minutes, I believe, and no shorter than 20 minutes. So as you can see, this footage is about, let me see, if you see this magnified glass, this is how you zoom in. If you scale it this way, you'll zoom in. If you scale it the other way, you'll zoom out. This footage is about 18 minutes long. So, but with the combined intro and outro, it should be 20 minutes. So, right when you add a footage, you also want to go ahead and add the outro because the intro is already there. So, but once you choose the footage that you want to use, you go to plugins, go to the needed folder, and then you'll go to the outro, which is right here. Okay? So you always want to go to the end of the clip and put the outro at the end. So all you're going to do is you're going to see this little move cursor that has arrows facing all four corners. You'll click it and you'll drag it to the timeline. Okay? And then you'll put it at the end of the footage. So now it's about 19 minutes and 37 seconds long. So, you know, it can do something to make it a little longer so it's actually 19 minutes. So I'll figure, or 20 minutes, so I'll figure that out in a second. But, okay, so now that we have the footage that we want to use, the intro and the outro, the next thing we want to do is worry about the transitions for this. We always want to worry about the first track, which is called Video 1. I don't really rename this. I have names for the other tracks, but I don't really rename this because I don't have to, because that's where the video is going to be. So I clicked on this where it says transitions, and this is your series of transitions. Okay, so you can be creative and choose your own transition if you like, but however, I always use cross blur, cross fade, mosaic, or cross hatch. Okay, those are the ones I use. I don't use anything else. So for like example, the beginning I always like to use cross blur. I mean cross zoom. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. I also use cross zoom. I actually use cross zoom and cross blur. Cross zoom and cross blur. Okay. All right. So now, as you see, I dragged this. I clicked on it and dragged it in between the intro and the footage itself. All right. So that way, it will actually now transition from the intro to the footage. Okay. So this is, excuse me. So now, as you can see, you can't really see the transition. So what you want to do is go ahead and scroll this in to where you're zooming into your work on the timeline, and now you can see the transition a lot better. The reason why I say you want to see the transition is you want to make it the transition longer or shorter to your discretion. I like to always make it shorter. 0.4 is the shortest you can make a transition. Okay, so let's see how that looks right quick. So that wasn't too clear. Let me try it again. So see that that was that's how the cross zoom will look. It was very quick, yes, but that's how it's supposed to be. That's how I like it. You don't have to put it that way if you don't want to. You can make it longer if you want to, or leave it at its natural point. It starts off with 1. So when you drag it regularly in between the footage and the intro, or the footage and the outro, which I'm doing right now, it will automatically be 1 second. Okay, it's 1 second long. So this outro, this zoom would be 1 second long. So that's how it'll look when it zoom out. So I'll show it to you one more time. So that's how it will look. That's how it will look. All right. So I'm going to delete that, and then I'm gonna add. I like to add the mosaic at the end. Okay, mosaic actually has a very nice feel. Brings a nice feel to the end of the footage. So watch how it looks. Okay, so that was really rough. Let me try it one more time. So that's how it's going to look. Yeah, so let's move on. Okay, so now let's see. Now we done did our transition. We got our footage and our outros together. Okay, so now you kind of want to figure out where do you want this video footage to start. Since it's pretty short and it's not as long as we want it to be, we can't really determine where we want it to start or to end. Okay, but we can, however, make it so that it sounds or looks as good as possible. Okay, so what I did right here is I clicked on this little arrow. It says change track height. And what I did is I also made this to the biggest it could be. What that does or allows me to do is now I can see the audio. I can even edit the audio. Okay? So what I want to do is when you actually play this outright, okay. So it sounds pretty good. So I don't have to change it. But if I wanted to, I can make it so it fades. The sound fades out. Uh, and this is where you see this little line with the 2 circles. That's the options, the fade options. When you click on it, it actually gives you these little blue lines or the green line for the footage. And what you'll do is you'll actually click on that line, and it will create a dot. What you'll do then is that this dot is now connected to this dot. This is the end dot of the audio, by the way. So what will happen is you'll take this dot and you'll move it down. Now what's going to happen is that from this point to this point, the audio is going to fade out. Okay, so that's how you do a fade in or fade out, by the way. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with it right now because it sounds okay to me. So I just wanted to show you all that right quick. All right. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to zoom out so I can see my whole workspace. Alright, so that's always the first thing you always want to do. You always want to make sure you have your intro, the footage you want to work on, and your outro. Okay, the transitions between the footage and the intro and the footage and the outro. And always want to know where you want to start and where you want to end. Again, this footage is not long enough to determine that, so we're just going to keep the whole thing. Okay? The next thing I always like to worry about is the IUIC logo. Okay? If you see the IUIC logo track is on top of the rest of the tracks. Now you might ask, okay, why is that? Well, when you put a track on top of another track, that means that this track is more important now than this track, which means that if, let's say for example, I wanted to put a picture, like I'm gonna use any picture right in front of, right on top of this track right here. Okay, so now what's going to happen is when I press play,
read that. Psalms 119 verse 67. Before I was afflicted, I went astray. Before I was afflicted, I went astray. So we went away from God.
As you can see, the picture that I just put on the timeline is now covering the footage because this track is on top of this track. So we don't so the IUIC logo is gotta be on top of everything so that nothing will cover the IUIC logo. That's why it's the last track made. Okay? Alright, so I don't want this, by the way. So what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, I'll click on this and I'll go to this 3 lines and I'll go to the trash can. Okay, that's how you delete stuff. You can also just click on it and press delete if you want. I'm just showing you the many ways of WeVideo. Okay, so next thing, let's go zoom back out so I can see my whole work area and just do the IUIC logo. The IUIC logo is pretty easy. Again, all you have to do is go to it, IUIC logo, in the plugins folder, in the needed folder. Okay? And then you'll drag the IUIC logo onto the timeline. Notice that it's very short, so what will happen is if you do not stretch it or make it as long as the footage, it will disappear. You don't want that. This IUIC logo has to be throughout the whole footage. It has to be as long as the footage. Okay, so what you want to do is select it, and as you can see, my cursor turned into 2 arrows facing side to side. So what are you going to do is click on it and start to drag it out. So now it makes it longer. So now this will play for that length. Alright? So now what you want to do is go ahead and match the logo with the footage. So you'll click on it and drag it further down the timeline until it matches with the footage that you have. Keep going. by the way, this blue thing that you're looking at right here is called playhead or marker. So it keeps track of where you are on the timeline. Okay. Alright, so now the IUIC logo will pop up at the same time as the footage. Alright, so now let's make it in at the same time as the footage. So we're going to stretch it out. Almost. Just a little bit more. And there you go. Okay, so now the IUIC logo is now as long as the footage. Alright? Okay, so now the next thing is we can start all the way back over. Now that we finished the IUIC logo, the easiest part of it, but one of the most important parts of it, the intro, the footage we are going to be editing, and the outro. Now we can start actually editing the footage itself. My next point is to do the teacher info and the verse plates. So there's going to be two things on this track. There's going to be the teacher's info and the verse plate. The verse plate is what the verse is going to be on. I will show you right quick what the verse plate is. I've showed you in the previous tutorial, but I'll show you again. So this right here is the verse plate. As you see, there's no verse in there yet. So this is a verse plate because you actually have to go to another track, which will be this one, and put in the verse onto the plate. That's why this track is on top of this one. Okay? So, but what we're going to focus on next is the teacher info, the location, and also the Cali logo. Okay, that's this right here, which I'm going to put on the add-ins track. So the Cali logo is going to be more important than the location and teacher info, meaning it's going to be over these things, just in case. So, because we gotta see the Cali logo, but the way I'm going to position it is to where you'll be able to see the location and the teacher info all at the same time. So on the next tutorial, this is what I'm going to be touching on: the add-ins, which is the Cali logo, the location of the camp, which would be Antioch, of course, and the teacher info, which would be Officer Benaya, Officer 50. Remember, we do have to put their rank as well. Okay? But I'll touch more on that on the next tutorial. I pray this was edifying, and stay tuned. Okay? Shalom. Sign Christ bless.